Klal Yisrael. I was asked to speak for a few moments about Inyanei Chinuch. Last year I spoke about the Mishabura who says the chiyuv on parents to daven once a day for their children. Today I'd like to speak about a different obligation on parents as far as chinuch is concerned. Obviously, I don't know who's listening to this call. What is the first image that comes to mind when I ask you to think about something that your father or mother did? What's the first image that comes to mind? First thing that comes to mind is that my grandparents, my mother's parents, owned a farm 25 miles outside of Boston in a town called Millis, Massachusetts. My great-grandfather came to that town in 1904 with my grandparents, my grandfather. And we spent all the summers on that farm. And there were acres behind the house, in front of the house, with cows grazing and many things to do. It was a very exciting place to be as a child. So what's the image? The image is that in the backyard, my father took out time to have a catch with me. It's strange to say. But that image to me showed my father's love that he took out time to have a catch with me. I was 8 years old. We both had baseball gloves and we're throwing a ball to each other. That scene and that feeling enables me to remember my father benching Lulav and Esrik, eating in a sukkah, conducting a seder. My mother benching licht. My mother cleaning the house for Pesach. My mother being Mekayim the mitzvah achnosis orchim. See, chinuch is not only about telling our children what to do in a good way, It's about showing our children what to do, even without telling them, because they're always watching. And when they are faced with any type of nisayon, the way that they can make it through is by remembering, what did my father do? What did Abba do? What did Tati do? What did my mother do? What did Ima do? It's an unbelievable lesson. And that's why the Medrash, the famous Medrash, that Yosef HaTzadik was in the midst of a nisayon. And the way he got out of the nisayon and past the nisayon was by remembering the mustik Yoinai Shalov. So some people may mistakenly think that that's something which was only nogeya to Yosef HaTzadik and Yaakov Avinu. Okay, whatever the Medrash means that something happened and he saw, okay, we're not talking about people being on that madrega. But this madrega, that I have images, memories, connections to the way my parents performed their mitzvahs. How did my parents speak to their parents on the phone? How did my parents interact with their parents when they came to visit? How did my parents act in front of Gedolim? What did my parents do when it came to mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, mishalochem at the door, or whatever the situation may be? And these situations happen daily. And the chinuch there is, what images have I created? I once gave a shmooze called Make a Picture. Make a picture that our children will not only remember, but will utilize. And not a picture that necessarily hangs on the wall. Those are also good. But a picture that remains on the hard drive in our mind and in our heart. That's meritic. That's chinuch. That's incredible. having a catch with our children in a way that expresses love is chinuch. Running around the block with our children so they can learn how to ride a bike is chinuch. If we're able to show during that time that we love our children, we want to fulfill their needs. And therefore, the time that we spend learning with them, the time we spend walking to shul with them, the time we spend interacting with them is burnt onto their hard drive. And that's why we know that the best thing for a child is this is what my father used to do, and this is what my mother used to do. So Rabbi Goodman and his organization is epic. Chinuch is epic. We should all be matzliach as parents to create those images. And might I add that if sometimes we create an image that's negative, it's permissible to tell our children, we made a mistake. We made a mistake. That's also an image. That's also an incredible image. I want to end with a story of my great-grandfather who was on this farm, who never learned in a yeshiva in a day in his life. I don't know if he ever saw the inside of yeshiva. He came when he was a 29-year-old man. He was drafted twice into the Russian army. He fought in the Russo-Japanese War. That's why he never had a chance to learn yeshiva. He davened for the Yomid for 75 years in a row. And I was his great-grandson, and I learned in yeshiva. And one Friday afternoon, a little after Chatzos, he's sitting at the dining room table at our house with a cup of tea, and he's doing Shnai Mikra. Besides being about tefillah, he was about Kairei for 75 years. And he's dressed for Shabbos with his cup of tea, with his chumash, doing Shnai Mikra. And I come down the stairs, dressed to go to the park to play basketball. I'm not going to tell you what I was wearing. And my Elder Zeta looks up at me and says to me in Yiddish, "Das heißt a yeshiva bacher." This is a yeshiva bacher. Going out to play basketball after Chatzos and Erev Shabbos. I told him, Zaidi. We called him more Zaidi. I said, that's what they do in yeshiva. He didn't know what I was talking about. I'm not here to tell you about the chinuch in the words. I'm here to tell you about the chinuch in the image. The image of my great-grandfather sitting at the table, Erev Shabbos, after Chatzos, already bathed, already dressed for Shabbos, doing Shnai Mikra. That Rabbi Sai created an image. That's something we should all be zeicher to do. Hatzlacha Rabba, and once again, thanks to Rabbi Goodman, and thanks to Epic Chinuch. We should all be zeicher to be part of it. I'm wishing everybody Hatzlacha Rabba and the Gebaltik Yontif. We should all be zeicher Mekabel the Torah. B'simchasa u'b'shleimusa. Thank you all very much.